Hey everyone, Red Source here. Today I'm going to talk about my latest project and announcement, BARDO. BARDO is a project I've been working on and off for about 2 years now. It was originally supposed to be just Season 2 for the analog horror it was based off of, but it quickly became clear that I couldn't do the series justice with the type of stuff I wanted to do in Season 2. One person is just not capable of doing that kind of stuff in such a short amount of time. So, I did what I do best and make a game. However, a lot of stuff has happened since then, and I wanted to talk about that today. First of all is the game engine. BARDO is running on the Unity game engine, and if you just cringed hearing that name, I don't blame you. You joined thousands of people. Yeah, Unity got itself into a lot of drama recently with its runtime fee, and a lot of people are making out to be no biggie since the company reverted the changes and even got itself a new CEO. I understand that completely, but you have to understand that what they did happened from literally one day to the other, and the only reason the changes were reverted was due to huge community backlash. They changed their terms of service and the way the engine is monetized with one swift announcement. Who's to say they wouldn't do it again? And that's the problem everyone has with the engine right now. The fact that the trust has been broken and devs are looking at the engine as a ticking time bomb. So, what's the solution? Do we just swallow whatever the corporate overlords shove down our throats? Or do we find an alternate solution? Of course, there are so many other solutions that are capable and battle-tested. A very formidable example is the Unreal Engine. Unreal has been contending with Unity for a long time now, and I could go into the nitty-gritties of the engine, but instead I'll just go straight to the point. The big problem I have with Unreal is that it is a thick fucking engine. People do use the engine for PlayStation 1 styled games, which I do think is a bit overkill, and it's not impossible to make a lightweight game with Unreal, see for example Valorant. However, I still think that the game engine has way too much bloat, at least for me. Something simple, lightweight, and straight to the point is what I want when it comes to a game engine. I mean, just downloading the fucking thing is 60 gigabytes. And Unreal kinda has the same problem as Unity in the sense that it is a game engine run by a company who can change its rules anytime they like. The issue doesn't seem as likely with Unreal since the CEO is someone who does care about game dev. So, where does this leave us? Well, there is one more solution, and it's called Godot. This beautiful engine was developed by Juan Linietsky and Ariel Manzur, Argentine developers. Absolute giga chats. So what is so awesome about Godot? There are two absolute deal makers for me about this engine. First of all is that it is completely open source and free. You don't even have to legally say you made your game with this fucking engine. Second of all, this engine uses a separate scripting language called GDScript, which is more intuitive for me than C# and Unity. I'm more of an artist than a programmer, so having the ability to write script while it's still being understandable is something that is invaluable to me. Not to mention Godot 4 just dropped, taking the engine from a solid 7 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 when it comes to 3D. Of course, if you want to develop your AAA games, I would kindly redirect you to Unreal Engine, but still, Godot is a very solid option that offers a great variety. It has a lot of problems, but then again, so did Blender when it came out, and it is one of the best 3D modeling softwares in the entire world. And I think Godot is heading in that same direction. Open source is something I've always loved, and now it seems like the greatest time for game devs, indie game devs at least, to switch to Godot. Alright, you got all that? Cool. Now that we got all the game engine stuff out of the way, we can finally talk about what BARDO is exactly. Porting the game from Unity to Godot still has not been completed yet, so all the footage you're going to see here is gameplay from Unity. BARDO is a horror game inspired by one game in particular, Amnesia the Bunker. The Bunker has such a creative concept and I immediately fell in love with it. One character in a single map that spans the entire game, solving puzzles and avoiding the monster. I love that idea. And what made it even more attractive is that it doesn't take a genius to use this concept as a base for their games. Let me give you an example. It's like all those PT inspired games. It was one looping hallway sprinkled with scares, and it was also so easy to implement your own story. That's why so many indie devs favored PT as a base for their game, and it did work. There are a lot of indie games right now that are really good that are heavily inspired by PT. Of course, Bardo does differ in a lot of ways. You have a hub, kind of like the police department in Ready or Not, or like the safe room in Resident Evil games, a place where there is no danger and you can take a breather. The story progresses in missions that you can accept. There are a few types of missions that the player can take on. Elimination quests is one of them. Missions that require the player to clear out an entire floor using limited resources and avoiding deadly AI. There's also hostage extraction quests, missions that require the player to extract a hostage from a hot zone while avoiding and taking out enemy AI. However, it is not necessary to kill all the AI in these missions. Fetch quests, less intense missions that require the player to enter a floor and extract a specific item, or do a specific task like taking pictures of something or picking up an item an NPC wanted you to pick up. These are missions that are designed as downtime, less intense, and I'll be honest with you, padding out the story a little bit. But don't worry, these won't be too frequent, and I'll do my best to make them as interesting as possible. Then there are story quests, missions that don't fall under any specific category, but they do at the very minimum require you to take out enemy AI. Since eliminating enemies is very frequent, I need to make it interesting, so good and satisfying gunplay is a key part of Bardo. But if I had to compare it to something immediately, I would compare it to something like Ready or Not or Metal Gear Solid 5. Other gameplay elements will be present, but I don't want to spoil them yet. My goal is to keep the player engaged and for them to discover new things every mission. The same strategy won't be enough to complete every single quest. In order to survive, you really need to learn how to approach every situation. You will die, a lot, but I hope you learn a little something with every death. That's pretty much it for now. I'm super excited to embark on this new journey. I can't wait to fully learn Godot 4. It seems like a lot of fun. And I know indies are starting to favor this engine for good reason. So thank you for tuning in today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. This channel is still pretty small, so any support is much appreciated. So if you feel generous, drop a like, subscribe, and thanks again for watching. I'm out of this bitch.